Welcome to Nice and Blunt. My name's Adam Mariancho, and it's Thursday, December 19th. Time for a live stream. I don't really have the time to edit, so we're going to be doing this start sit video live. It's the Broncos at the Chargers, Week 16. Who you going to start and who you going to sit? All right, I'm really hoping that I got everything in order here. I've never done the live stream for this, but we're going to get going. We're going to start off with what I believe is at stake tonight, and the standings are really interesting here. These are the AFC standings for the playoff picture. We have the wild card spots still up for grabs, but if the 9-win Broncos win tonight, they guarantee a playoff spot. However, if they lose, there's a chance they miss the playoffs entirely because they would be at 9-6 with a game at the Bengals and versus the Chiefs after that. They can realistically lose both of those games. I would assume they probably lose the Chiefs game, but at the Bengals is not an easy matchup at all. And if the Bengals win out, they would both be at 9-8. And that would be the tiebreaker in favor of Cincy. So a win tonight for Denver gives them 10 wins. That's all they need. That's a guaranteed playoff spot. 10 wins will get into the AFC. And that's why I don't think the Chargers need this game as much. What am I missing? This is what I'm missing. Here we go. So this is the Chargers' schedule. They got the Broncos tonight, then the Patriots on the road, and then the Raiders. So even if they lose, I think they're going to get to 10 wins. They're 8-6 right now, and I think the Chargers don't really need this game as much. Meanwhile, the Broncos' schedule really tough, and 9 I don't think is enough for them. They need 10 for it to work out. So they're worried about the Bengals, and this is a huge, huge game for Denver. So that's what's at stake. I think the Broncos are a little more desperate for this win, and the Chargers, given their health, without J.K. Dobbins, I'm a bit worried. So I'm kind of leaning towards the Broncos tonight, but let's get into some other key points of interest. This is the depth chart for the Chargers tonight, and J.K. Dobbins is on IR, as we mentioned. Will Dissly is out, but Hayden Hurst is coming back off of IR. Hayden Hurst will get the start. And to start the season back in training camp, that's who they plan to be their top tight end. So he got injured. Dissly has stepped up, and Hurst, I think, will be their go-to guy at tight end. I don't think you should be starting Stone Smart tonight. But there's also some defensive injuries. Asante Samuel Jr. is probably the most important, and he has been on IR for several weeks now. But some other starters in the secondary would be cornerback Cam Hart, who is out, along with Elijah Molden, who's also doubtful. I'm not expecting Molden to play. So the secondary is a big problem. I think because of those injuries, I would be trusting Courtland Sutton a lot. So that's the Chargers depth chart. On the Broncos side of the ball, really the only offensive player missing is Jaleel McLaughlin. Running back is out, which means Javonte becomes a bit safer, and maybe Audric Estime does get a few more touches in his absence. So that's actually kind of interesting. Maybe Javonte's a bit more viable as a flex option. But then on their defense, really the only significant injury would be the second cornerback, Riley Moss, is out. And we saw Levi Wallace get torched against the Browns a few weeks ago. Last week, it wasn't that big of a deal against the Colts, but obviously Herbert is probably better equipped to capitalize on this matchup. So Riley Moss, a big injury for them. And then after that, I think that's kind of all there is to mention for injuries. So let's get into some start, sit to sit. Oh, no. This is what I forgot to bring up. This was week 6, the first divisional matchup between these two teams, and the Chargers defense off the bye really showed up. They completely shut out the Broncos in the first 3 quarters, and then Denver kind of came roaring back with 16 points in the fourth, but it didn't really matter. That game was never really in question for the Chargers. So Herbert had a decent game, but really it was mostly on the back of J.K. Dobbins. As you can see, Dobbins had 96 yards and a touchdown on 25 touches, and him not being here is a big factor and problem for LA. His absence has really kind of cratered their offense in general. So I'm kind of worried about the run game. On the other side of the ball, though, the run game for Denver was non-existent. Javonte had 23 yards, Estime 13, Jaleel 8, and it was really just Bo Nix who had 61 rushing yards. That was the only offense that they really provided on the ground. Their passing game, though, let me pull that up. Their passing game wasn't quite terrible. Devon Villay really led the charge, and he's been fading a lot. I don't really trust Devon Villay at the moment, but Sutton scored a touchdown, and then nobody else went over 50 yards. Meanwhile, for the Chargers pass catchers, not a single player went over 50 yards either. Ladd wasn't even the top target. Technically, target, yes. He had 8, but 4 for 43, 6.5 points in week 6. That's not good. I'm really hoping that doesn't repeat against Patrick Surtain. I'd be worried about McConkey tonight. But Simi Fehoko, when he was active, he was kind of like a receiver / tight end. And with Hayden Hurst active tonight in his spot, I could see a decent role for Hayden Hurst. Maybe he actually is their leading receiver tonight. But Quentin Johnston was pretty terrible, 3 for 22, nothing impressive. Josh Palmer was irrelevant as well. I'm kind of not too inclined to be starting any Chargers receivers for the most part. So that was week 6. That was at Denver. It's going to be different tonight, but something I wanted to bring up for this matchup. Beyond that, let's get into the start-sit decisions now. And I think the clear must-starts, or at least the players that you're more inclined to be starting, would be, what am I doing here? Courtland Sutton, wide receiver 11. I think Courtland Sutton is a very good start tonight. And a big reason why is the matchup that he has. The Chargers are a top 4 matchup right now. They're giving up 36 points per game, basically, on 14.2 catches, 191 yards per game, 8 touchdowns, and 13.5 yards per catch. So Chargers are vulnerable. I do trust Courtland Sutton. With those injuries in the secondary, I also think they're going to be a good play tonight. So I would definitely be starting Courtland Sutton, but I would also be starting Ladd McConkey just because he's been so effective as of late, averaging over 90 yards per game the last 4, and he's clearly the go-to target for Herbert. I've been to 2 Chargers games in the last month, and Herbert's really the only... McConkey is the only player that Herbert really trusts every single time. So while he does get Patrick Surtain, I'd probably still start him just because the volume's going to be there. I wouldn't really be questioning the target share for Ladd, but maybe you just want to avoid Surtain entirely. I did downgrade Ladd a few spots. He's at the bottom of this tier, but I would be starting him. The matchup for him is decent. It's about league average lately. The Broncos are giving up about 27 points per game. That's not bad on 14.2 catches, 186 yards. Only 1 touchdown, though. I'd be very concerned that there's no touchdown available for any Chargers receiver tonight. But I think from a yards per catch standpoint, Ladd will be effective. He will kind of burn them down the field a decent amount. 13.1 yards per catch is above league average. So those are the 2 players I'm definitely starting tonight. Ladd McConkey at wide receiver 18, but Courtland Sutton with even more confidence at wide receiver 11. I don't think I'd be benching them tonight. But otherwise, I do think, no, we don't need that. The quarterbacks are a very, very compelling argument because they've been pretty effective this season, but lately they've really been diminished in terms of stats. They're more so floor plays, and that's where I consider them this week. I have them back-to-back at quarterback 14 and 15, and I don't really trust like a high point total in this matchup. I don't see a lot of touchdowns. I see a lot more field goals, and that's why I think the touchdown boost that you get is going to be so critical. I think both players probably only get like 1 touchdown apiece, and that's why I don't think they really go over like 16 points. I think if all you need is like 14, 15, that's probably safe enough, but I wouldn't be trusting like the ceiling for Bo Nix or Justin Herbert at all. I think from a floor standpoint, I do trust him a bit more than guys like Anthony Richardson, Caleb Williams, Kyler in the cold weather, Drake May in some snow, and then Cooper Rush. How much do you trust him? There's more upside with guys like Richardson and Caleb this week, in my opinion. But if you just want a safety net, if you want to guarantee you don't bust at quarterback, if all you need is a safe 15, I do trust Nix and Herbert as legit streaming options. If we look back to week 6, something that happened in this division rivalry, Nix was pretty good. He had 61 rushing yards, 21 fantasy points basically, and he's really going to need those rushing yards to pay off. If he doesn't do that, you're probably only going to get like 15 points. And that's what I basically project for him. So I'm not like dying to start Nix. He's really dependent on those rushing yards. And for some reason, he's not been running the ball anywhere near as much as of late. So I don't really trust him to go over 20 points. I think 16 is like kind of the ceiling. And then for Herbert, he was kind of brutal. Only 13.7 points back in week 6. They didn't really need him. They kind of had that game taken care of for the majority. And he did nothing on the ground, only 2 rushing yards. But in general, Herbert usually gives you like 20 to 25 rushing yards. He probably gets closer to like 15 points as well. That's why I have both players back to back. I really think both of them are going to give you roughly 15 points this week. So if you're in a super flex league, then yeah, go ahead and start him. But the players I would be starting above both of them, I think Rodgers and Stafford could be in a shootout this week. It's going to be a cold game in New York, but I would trust them a bit more. I also think avoiding the weather in Miami with Purdy and Tua is a better strategy. And then I also think the top 9 have earned more trust and higher upside, like Darnold, Mahomes, Goff, Lamar, Baker, Jaden Daniels, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and Joe Burrow. All of those quarterbacks I'd be starting above them. These are my quarterback rankings this week. And I feel good about the top 9, 10 through 15, all in the streaming category, more so floor plays in general. So those are the quarterback rankings. Let me move on to something else. First time I'm doing this live, so apologies if I'm like a little disoriented, but getting used to it. These are my tight end rankings this week. You've not seen them on the channel yet. And if you need like a streamer, I think if you've been relying on Will Dissly, I do have Hayden Hurst at tight end 17. You could do a lot worse than Hayden Hurst. I could see a touchdown, but in general, the Chargers offense really relies on the tight end. Like they don't have a lot of weapons in the first place. So if Ladd doesn't get the ball, it's usually only going to the tight end or Quentin Johnson, then occasionally Josh Palmer, and then they'll try and run it best they can. But I do think Hurst is really appealing. I don't trust Stone Smart. I didn't rank him or Adam Troutman. But as a low-end streaming option, if you're super desperate, maybe you just lost Njoku last week and you were riding with Stone Smart for some reason, I do think avoiding the weather this week is not bad. Hayden Hurst at tight end 17. You could do worse. I have him in the same tier as Brenton Strange, Chico Okonkwo, Kelsey and Noah Gray, and Kyle Pitts, Dalton Schultz. So like, you're not going to feel good if you're starting one of these tight ends, but at 17, I could argue he should be number 11. Like there is a ceiling for Hurst. I think the floor is going to be like 4 catches, 40-ish yards, and 6 points is usually like all you can ask for from a streaming tight end and in terms of floor. So good luck there if that's what you're going to do. But the tight ends I would be starting this week is Kittle, Jonnu, Bowers, McBride, Andrews, Laporta, Freiermuth, Ertz, Hawkinson, and Kraft. And then after that point, it's all just hoping for touchdowns, streaming the position. So maybe consider Hurst if you're desperate, but odds are just leave him on the waiver wire. I doubt you're probably picking him up. But next up, I want to show you are the running back rankings, where I did upgrade Javonte just a little bit. I upgraded Javonte a total of 5 spots. I previously had him at number 37. And now that Estime is out, I do think Javonte is slightly more interesting. There are good matchup stats here for him that you can see on the screen. The Chargers are giving up over 22 points per game. That's a positive matchup. A lot of yards on the ground, 134 per game. So he should be effective. 4.7 yards per carry, 4.4 catches, 30 receiving yards. That's about league average, but 3 touchdowns. He has decent odds to score. They're not like great, but I do think without Jaleel McLaughlin, I do trust the volume a bit for Javonte, and that's why he is at number 32. He has been averaging 7.1 points per game. He's the running back 33 in the last 4 weeks. So not a safe bet. You really need a touchdown, but without Jaleel, you kind of feel a little bit safer. So I'm not trying to start him, but if you're super desperate, maybe you just lost Garendo to injury. Javonte at number 32, a little bit more compelling with Jaleel out. But I think Gus Edwards is not a safe bet at all. I have him at number 38. He's at the bottom of the same tier, and every player here is really touchdown dependent. So I would not be trusting Gus at all. Gus has been terrible. Gus is averaging 5.7 points per game, and that's running back 42 the last 4 weeks. So I don't trust Gus at all. The matchup for him also isn't really that good. The Broncos are below league average, only giving up 16 points per game. That's a tough spot. 65 rushing yards per game. They mainly allow targets and catches out of the backfield more so than like efficient rush attempts. So the Broncos allow 5 catches per game for 44 receiving yards per game, and that's well above league average. You can beat the Broncos in the passing game at running back. So I actually think Kimani Vidal might be a sneaky play, but I'm not trusting either of them. The Broncos don't give up many points. I would be benching Gus Edwards for sure this week. So that's it at running back. Those are my rankings there. But then the next player to mention would be Audric Estime and Kimani Vidal. I mentioned a slight opportunity for both of them. There's a chance they work out, but I really doubt it. I don't think Estime is safe at all. He has some vulture potential. Same with Kimani, but they're hovering around running back 50. I wouldn't want to start either of them. So no thank you with the backup running backs this week. I'm going to pass. But in terms of defenses, I'm starting both of them. I'm definitely rolling with both the Broncos and the Chargers. I have them as defenses 5 and 6. So top 10 plays, very, very good options. I see a very low score. It's a division rivalry, a lot of playoff implications. Both teams are hungry, and I see turnovers and a lot of field goals. So less than 20 points probably from both sides. I would be starting both defenses. I trust both of them. They're very well coached. I see a very high floor with both of them. That's my prediction tonight. Start both the Broncos and the Chargers defense at 5 and 6. The only ones I would start above them would be the Vikings, the Falcons, the Bills in the snow, and then the Packers in like 20-degree weather. Those are the must starts at defense. So that's the defensive rankings. Not too many other things to mention here, but oh yeah, we're kind of it. That's pretty much it. These are my starts for tonight. I'm starting all 6 of these players. We got Ladd and Courtland Sutton, definitely top 20 receivers. I would have them in my lineup tonight. I'm also starting both defenses, top 6 options apiece, and then both kickers I think are each going to have at least 2 field goals and a lot of opportunity. I would start both Cameron Dicker and Will Lutz tonight. 2 top 10 kickers this season. I would trust them in my lineup. But in terms of flex decisions, nope, that's not what we want. That's what we want. Here we go. I would stream Bo Nix and Justin Herbert from a floor standpoint. I think they'll both get like about 15 or so points. So in super flex, that's a safe, reliable quarterback 2. But in a 1 quarterback league, I'd probably be benching both quarterbacks. I don't think they're top 10, not elite ceilings available for either option. So stream them if you need them, but don't expect over 20. And then if you're really desperate, maybe you're going to consider flexing Javonte as a streaming option. At running back 32, I'd probably ignore it. And then at tight end 17, maybe you are in a very tough spot. Maybe tight end is requiring you to pivot to Hayden Hurst. If you've been rolling with Will Dissly, then maybe that's the move. But I'm benching everyone else. I'm not trusting any of the backup running backs. Gus and Kimani, I don't trust them. They need a touchdown, and even with it, they might not go over 10 points. And then Jalil's not going to play. You can't start Jalil. Estime I don't trust enough, but he could have a touchdown. I'm not going to bet on it. And then Quentin Johnston is probably the most appealing option on this screen here, but I wouldn't trust him at all. He's my wide receiver 53, and I'm not going to bet on it. I'm not starting Quentin Johnston, Josh Palmer, Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, Devon Vallée, Adam Troutman, or Stone Smart. Don't start any of those players. These are the only guys I'd be starting tonight. These 6 players, the only ones that deserve to be in your lineup. So that's it for all the start-sit decisions, but I also want to show you my final score prediction. I think the Broncos are going to win tonight. I mentioned the standings and the playoff implications. Really a must-win for Denver tonight. So final score, in my opinion, 20-19. I think we're going to see a lot of field goals, 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals for Denver, and then only 1 touchdown and 4 field goals for the Chargers. I think Cameron Dicker is going to be a very good play, but the over-under point total is 41.5. I don't see more than 40 points. I'd hit the under on the point total. And then for some reason, because they're at home, I guess, the Chargers are favored by 2.5 points, but I don't really trust their offense right now. I think they're going to struggle. I would take the Broncos plus 2.5, not just to cover, but to win straight up. Give me the Broncos money line tonight. You guys also agree the poll results are in. 64% of y'all do like the Broncos tonight. You expect Denver to win. So we're in agreement, and that's what I'm expecting to happen. But for the most part, that's it for this video. So that's it for all the start-sit decisions. I also give you an over-under bet, and here it is. Here are my bets tonight and I feel pretty good about this one. We have 5 picks. The payout is almost $800, but we did use a 30% profit boost token on Underdog. So if you want to join me on this bet, you can use code Nice and Blunt. The link is in the description. And on $5, if all 5 hit, we need all 5. If not, we get nothing. We would get $797, almost $800 if all 5 of these. And I like this a lot. The Kimani Vidal receiving line is achievable. The Broncos give up almost 45 receiving yards per game to the position, and Gus Edwards does not catch passes at all. So I think Kimani could hit this on just like one catch. I think from a yak perspective, I could easily see like one reception for 15 yards, but I expect him to get closer to 20 plus. I do think Herbert will check it down. If you go back to week 6, Kimani Vidal actually had a receiving touchdown in that game against Denver. So I do like this line on Kimani Vidal. I also told you I think Cameron Dicker is going to hit 3 field goals tonight. So I love the line on 2 field goals. But then Courtland Sutton is averaging 80 receiving yards per game, and I think he will go over 65. So I like that line a lot. The Chargers secondary is very injured. Cam Hart not going to play. Elijah Molden won't be available. I think Courtland Sutton will be a very effective option tonight. So I would be starting him for sure. I think he will go over on this line. I like Courtland Sutton a lot. I really think these last 2 picks are the crux of the bet. And you only need 1 receiving yard from Audric Estime. Maybe he doesn't get a single catch, a single target. I could get screwed on this bet, but all he needs is 1 catch. And I mentioned to you earlier, the Chargers do give up 30 receiving yards per game. So perhaps it all goes to Javonte Williams, but the fact that Jaleel McLaughlin isn't going to play is why I'm willing to take this chance. All you need is 1 receiving yard. It might not happen. It is a bit risky, but I think it's like a 50-50 coin flip. All he needs is 1 catch. I think it will work out on Estime. And the reason why a lot of these lines are so low is because I didn't need to boost any of them, because this Hayden Hurst touchdown is a very difficult thing to expect. Hayden Hurst scoring a touchdown is literally like multiplying this payout by 7 times. Like, it's all on Hayden Hurst why it's an $800 payout. Like, without Hayden Hurst, I'd be getting like maybe $100 on like a regular line, but they're really betting against Hayden Hurst. I'm willing to say fuck it. Like, if you're telling me I get all the other 4 and Hayden Hurst touchdown is all I need, I'm willing to take a shot. Earlier this season, I didn't do it on the channel. I wish I did, but I hit a $450 bet on $3 on a Will Dissly touchdown, that Charger game against the Bengals. That is maybe why I'm leaning on this touchdown again. But I really could see it happen. The Broncos don't give up like any touchdowns to receivers, and I don't trust Gus Edwards either. I think Hayden Hurst will find pay dirt. I love the payout on it, so that's my decision. I'm going with Hayden Hurst. I think he'll score a touchdown. At least it's worth betting on. Maybe it doesn't happen, but Hayden Hurst touchdown. I like it. So these are the bets. 5 picks for $800 essentially. I put down 5. I'm willing to take that shot. So that's going to be it for all the start sit decisions. And now that I'm done, I'm going to get to the questions. I tried to pin the comment. If you've been asking me a question, I didn't answer it. That's why I'm just waiting for the end of the video to answer some questions. So let's get to it. We'll start at the top. Kashfi, good to see you, man. I guess the 2 questions I have for this week start Nix tonight. The other questions start Denver. I mean, it depends on who you have, man. Like, just go back in the video, check my rankings. But if you don't have a top 12 quarterback, if all you're trying to get is like 15, 16 points, then yeah, go ahead, start Nix. But in general, in a 1 quarterback league, I would not be starting Bo Nix. He's more of a floor play. I'd rather go with like Stafford, Purdy, or Tua if I had to, or another top 10 quarterback. But yeah, I probably am not going to start Bo Nix, more likely than not. But oh boy, there's a lot of comments here. Give me a second as I like scroll through these. Josh Carrero asking, would you start Chargers defense against the Broncos or Bengals defense versus the Browns? I'm definitely trusting the Chargers tonight. I do not trust the Bengals defense at all. They can't really stop anyone, and even though it's DTR and like Jerome Ford, I would still not trust the Bengals at all. The Broncos offense does not compare to the Buccaneers offense. I would definitely start the Chargers tonight in division on Thursday. I think that's a very, very good call. But Yep, the stakes are that high. This is almost like an elimination game. It's not officially an elimination game for Denver, but if they do lose, it at least opens the door for that Bengals game to bounce them when it's all said and done. If they don't win another game rest of season, the Broncos will miss the playoffs. But Pappy Madison, I think you don't know football. Well, fuck off, man. I do research, man. You can have your opinion, but like, I don't give a shit. Cash Fee says, no Stone Smart. Damn, a lot of places were preaching smart. That's going to suck for those folks. I mean, I could totally be wrong, man. I don't know. I just think they started the season in the offseason with Hurst as their guy. He got drafted by Baltimore into the Greg Roman system. I think Hurst is going to be on the field a lot more than Stone Smart. That's what I think. Um, I'm still laughing at the Puppy Mason comment. I don't give a shit, man. Twisted Folk, would you play Denver over Bills defense this week? No, I would not. I would not start Denver over the Bills. The Bills get a snow game. I would definitely trust them over the Patriots tonight. But then Sutton over St. Brown or AJ Brown? No, I definitely start Amon-Ra or AJ Brown above Sutton. But that's my opinion on that. But Chargers defense was great in the first half. Cashby, you've got all these comments, but none of them are questions. So I'm gonna skip a lot of them. No offense, man, but I'm just gonna move on. Twisted says Surtain normally isn't covering slot, and I read Ladd as 70% slot. To your point, yeah, I think he'll be fine, but obviously they're gonna try and put Surtain on Ladd as much as they can because that's really the only player you have to stop for the most part. But Cashby just having an argument with Pappy Mason. Yeah, you guys are having a big argument with Pappy. I like how Pappy's still just like staying in the chat though. that's kind of funny. Like, why don't you leave if you don't like it? Luke, here's a real question. Here we go. Luke saying, hey man, Kendry Miller, Tracy, or Abdullah, and Kelsey or Laporta. Okay, so at running back, you have to wait on Kendry on Monday night to know if Kamara's not going to play. Like, if Kamara doesn't practice at all, then yeah, I'd rather probably go Kendry Miller. That's a rough, like, snow game. They're really going to have to rely on the run a lot. I think Kendry will probably get, like, 20-plus touches if Kamara can't go. So that would be my preference. But I do think Tracy and Abdullah are probably, like, a more viable like option instead. Like, you have to wait for Monday, so you don't have any other option to switch to on Monday night unless it's at flex and you have a Packers receiver. So that's why I'd probably not go Kendry, but it's tough with either of them. I'd probably prefer Abdullah. I think I do rank Abdullah higher. At tight end, I'd go Laporta for sure. Kelsey's been fading a lot in this stage of the season. In December, they don't really use him a lot. So I'd go Laporta, and I'd try to go Kendry, but if Kamara practices at all, then I'd pivot to Abdullah. If Kamara doesn't practice, then go Kendry on Monday. But I'd go Laporta and Kendry. I'd go Abdullah instead of Kendry if if Alvin Kamara is playing. I've got so many different things on my mind. Sorry. But we've got a lot of Shadow Wicked. Pick one for flex. Rashad White, Jerome Ford, Kendry Miller, Patrick Taylor, Travis Etienne. Thanks in advance. Okay, only need one. I'm going to go Rashad White, bro. Rashad in that Buccaneers offense is so safe. I really trust the volume and like upside there. I think the floor is really high, and they use both running backs a lot. I trust this matchup against Dallas. I'd be starting Rashad White at the flex. I don't really know exactly what you're going to get from Ford. Kendry's also a tough bet with Kamara on Monday night. Patrick Taylor, yikes. I don't know what's going to happen with that. Etienne, no thanks with Bigsby. I'll pass on that. But Dan, you feel real confident in Dicker today, debating if I should take him out. I would start Dicker for sure. I see a lot of field goals tonight. I don't see a lot of touchdowns for the Chargers. I would definitely start Dicker. But any other questions? German Guzman asking Strange or Hawkinson. I do trust the floor a bit more with Hawkinson. I think Hawkinson is kind of like a more reliable option just because Strange, you have to trust Mac Jones, but I'd see a higher ceiling with Brenton Strange. I would expect maybe a little bit more opportunity for Strange, but I think if you're just trying to get a reliable floor play, I'd go Hawkinson. I do rank Hawkinson higher, but I could definitely see more upside for Strange because the Raiders suck so bad. It's a close one, but I'd go Hawkinson. I would go TJ Hawkinson. But Twisted says, happy to see you live tonight. Always appreciate your content. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Sam K says, pick 2, Ladd, Tyreek, Cup, or more. I would go... Damn, that's kind of tough, man. I'm going to go DJ Moore for sure. And then the second one... The problem with Cooper Kupp is that game against the Jets is going to be really cold. And there's a chance that the Rams play poorly, but I think I'm going to go Ladd. I'm just going to trust Ladd. He's been more reliable overall. The bagel from Kupp is worrisome, and then Tyreek has been fading. I'm going to go DJ Moore and Ladd McConkey. Those are my 2. Yeah, Sam. I'm going to go DJ Moore and Ladd McConkey. If it's Elijah Moore, then I'm definitely not going Elijah Moore. I would go Tyreek Hill above Cooper Kupp if it's Elijah Moore. But if it's DJ Moore, give me DJ Moore and Ladd over Tyreek. And then Alex says Bo Nix or Aaron Rodgers. I'm actually going to go Aaron Rodgers. I see more upside. I think I would rather go Aaron Rodgers against the Rams. Feels crazy to say, but I'd rather go Aaron Rodgers. But Akshay says, is there a case to start Laporta over Bowers this week? I don't think so. I do not believe that is the case. I would still go Bowers. I know he didn't play too well, but I would still trust Bowers against the Jags. Also choose one wide receiver, full PPR, Kupp, Metcalf, DJ Moore, Flowers, or Myers. Okay, Akshay. Only need one. It's full PPR. I got to go DJ Moore. DJ Moore is just so locked in, really high production. I trust DJ Moore. I do love the volume for Myers, but I think the touchdown's a lot safer to bet on with DJ Moore. Give me DJ Moore. If you only need one, I like DJ Moore the most. But Ryan says, what's up, man? Out of those running backs, who would you start full PPR? Tracy, I have Neighbors, so it sucks starting 2 Giants. Patrick Taylor, Abdullah, or Bigsby. I'd roll out Patrick Taylor. I'd just take a shot on that Niners backfield. I don't like any of the other ones. Like, maybe Abdullah catches a lot of passes again, but I think betting on the Niners backfield is a bit more appealing to me. So I would go Patrick Taylor in that spot. It's kind of gross, but I'd go Patrick Taylor. Twisted also asking, would you play Keenan over Ladd, half PPR? Also stream Richardson over Love if Green Bay game is a snowstorm. I would definitely go Keenan over Ladd. I'm still kind of worried about the Surtain matchup just a little bit. It's not like the end of the world, but I do trust Keenan a lot this week. The Lions defense sucks. Keenan, I think, is really reliable at the moment. Caleb loves him in the end zone. I do trust Keenan. I would go Keenan over Ladd. And then at quarterback, I would go Richardson as well. I'd ignore Love in the very cold game. I think they're going to pound the run against the Saints. They're going to have a big lead. I don't trust them to be throwing the ball very much. I would be benching Jordan Love. Definitely go Richardson in the dome at home against the Titans. Richardson has a very high ceiling this week. I do trust Richardson a lot from a rushing yard standpoint. I really trust him. And then German Guzman, Abdullah, Tracy, or Pacheco. Yikes, man. That's tough. I think I'm going to go Abdullah just because, like, Devin Singletary's annoying. So is Kareem Hunt. I think Abdullah is going to be catching, like, another 5 receptions. I'd go Abdullah. I don't feel good about it at all, but I would go Abdullah. Dan says, thank you. You're welcome, man. German says, thank you. Everyone's welcome. And then Maurice says, need one quarterback, Goff, Stafford, Darnold. Nice show. Appreciate you, man. I think after last week, you have to start Goff. I think you have to. I'm pretty sure I rank Goff the highest. Yeah, I do. So I would go Goff there, but it's pretty close. I have all 3 top 10, I believe. Top 11. Akshay says, I'm assuming no brainer that I go Josh Allen over Burrow this week. I'm actually going to go Burrow. Like, I could totally be wrong, man, but it's going to be, there's so much snow in Buffalo. And against the Patriots, like, are they really going to need to hang 40? I'm a bit worried about Allen. That's the only player I'd bench him for. I have Allen at 2 this week, and I have Burrow at number 1. I would actually go Joe Burrow, but to bench Allen feels crazy. You're not going to have a problem with either, bro. But I think I'd go Burrow just because the weather does scare me in Buffalo this week. And then Actually, also asking, also Sun God over Metcalf. Yes, I would go Sun God. Amon-Ra only has 1 touchdown in 7 career games against the Bears, but I still would trust Amon-Ra over Metcalf. I don't trust Metcalf at all. Myers is a decent floor play. Cup put up a bagel, so I wouldn't trust him. But I would just go Amon-Ra. I can't bench St. Brown. But Kashfi says we missing Mac Jones possibly ending up as quarterback 1. He's not going to be quarterback 1, bro. Don't tell me Mac Jones is QB 1. Enough. I would trust Goff enough. But that's it for all the comments, and this video's approaching 40 minutes. I think I'm going to call it. But thank you all very much. If you joined late, I'll be posting this in just a sec. You can also rewind and check out the start sit calls. But that's it for me. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Nice and blunt.